you folks for being here. Tom, we're all set? Good evening. Welcome to the January 8th Village Board meeting. This meeting is now called to order. Begin with the pledge.
That United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk?
Robert Fritchie,
Here.
Omar Lopez, Rico Levin,
Here.
Manuel Casada,
Present.
and Mayor Victoria Garrity.
Present. Welcome, Sue Donnelly,
Thank you.
Town Clerk, and soon to be formally appointed as our Village Clerk.
Thank you.
I'll let you say it, but then I've got quite a lot for mayors and trustees announcements.
Okay, so Mayor, would you like to do the mayor's and trustees announcements?
I do, and I'd like to start with a little presentation to our newest trustees. If you could meet me in front of the dais, this is a little bit of a surprise to them. Welcome. Putting you on the spot on day one. Thank you, Tom. Welcome. So, congratulations on being elected village trustee. With our role as elected officials on the village board, we also serve on the board of police commissioners. And this is something that I sometimes have done during inauguration, but this year just didn't happen during inauguration. So it's nice to start off with a little special presentation at our first meeting of the year. So I have for you each your badge. Use it wisely. The chief can speak to you more about appropriate uses and inappropriate uses. And that village photo ID that you just got should always be in your billfold. And you have one that is going to be replaced with a shiny new one that should arrive the case. We've ordered you a new case for tomorrow. Yes, a brand new case. You got a new case because we happen to have one on hand that was just ready and waiting for you. And I have one other little gift for you. We give these out very sparingly, but every elected official gets one. It is a Village of Ossining lapel pin. So I encourage you to wear it anytime you're representing the Board of Trustees in the community or anywhere else in the world. So thank you. Welcome aboard. We couldn't be more excited to have you with us. For our first meeting of the year, we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. And I have some opening remarks that I'd like to kick off with. So, it has been over a month since I publicly announced that I would not seek another term as mayor. My decision is guided by the needs of my family at this time. My sons will be headed to college before I know it, and I need to help prepare for that financially. I also need to be present in their lives in a different way during adolescence than when they were little kids. If you imagined that I would be taking it easy during this lame duck year of my service, let me dispel you of that misconception. There is very important work to do. And more than any time during my tenure in elected office, we have a team of local elected and appointed officials who are ready and willing to do great things together. The turning of the calendar in the new year often inspires reflection. When I ran for mayor in 2014, I had 3 key goals: improve the functionality of village government, strengthen code enforcement, particularly to address unsafe and crowded housing, and reimagine. I am very pleased to see progress on each of these goals. Let's review where we are and where we are going. We get a big check mark for improving the functionality of village government. Some of the evidence is seated right here tonight. There are 3 positions that the Village Board of Trustees hires directly: Chief Sylvester, Corporation Counsel Kahan, and Village Manager Karen Dottori are a team of appointed officials who are dedicated to accomplishing their work with pride, dignity, competence, and vision worthy of the people of Ossining. It is largely because of this team's ability to implement the big picture visions of the board that I am so confident in our ability to accomplish great things this year. The other tremendous improvement in village government function has been with communication. Initiatives like weekly open office hours with the mayor and Monday Mayor's Message email have been valuable tools in strengthening community connections. It's hard to imagine that when I began as mayor, we didn't even have a constant contact account. In fact, I was told by a member of a previous village management team that we shouldn't post on social media or email residents too often, because then folks will come to expect you to communicate all the time. We have adopted a very different mindset since those days. And I want to give a shout out to Jamie Hoffman, who has been instrumental in creating our new website. Jamie is also responsible for our new and improved weekly web blast and much of the email communication from the village. The progress we have made in our elected and appointed leadership impacts our ability to engender confidence beyond village borders. For years, we applied for grants and all too often came up short. The grant money we sought is largely coming from funds originally collected from residents across New York State and the United States. That $3.69 million we were awarded in December has come back to our community thanks to years of making the case that Ossining is a worthy and capable recipient that will make good use of funds for local infrastructure and economic development investment. On the code enforcement front, we have made progress, but not nearly enough yet. When I began in local office, village officials at that time acknowledged only that there was, quote, alleged overcrowded housing. By the time I ran for mayor and made it an issue, we were told overcrowded housing is not unique to Ossining, but there was still little action to address it. Trustee Quesada was one person who proposed recommendations for how to combat this challenge, and we have made progress in implementing his ideas. We have made updates to our local laws to give more tools to our code enforcement officers and building inspectors. We have hired more staff to be out in the field. This year, with the implementation of new software, I am optimistic that we will establish a landlord registry that will provide a foundation for improving our ability to enforce building codes. And we will accomplish it in a way that is not overly onerous to law-abiding landlords. Manager Dottori also connected with an individual who we are looking to bring to Ossining to help turn our well-intentioned laws and policies into truly effective action. Reimagining the heart of our downtown is the most exciting and highly visible of these goals. It's the tiniest grant that we received last month that will be instrumental in facilitating this goal. One of the greatest obstacles to being able to move forward with a transformative plan is the need to provide parking for the businesses and residents who currently depend on the surface lots that resulted from the demolition of buildings during urban renewal over 40 years ago. A significant component of the parking feasibility and planning study will be to understand how best to create additional parking in the village-owned lots that are bordered behind Brandreth Street, between Brandreth Street and Broadway, and bisected by the Aqueduct Trail. Expanding parking in this area will accommodate the current usage from the lots across the streets. Shifting parking from the surface lots will enable Ossining to reimagine the heart of our downtown, create a truly welcoming community gathering space, and restore the missing side of our Main Street. Lastly, I'd like to speak about the job of being a local elected official. This is my 8th year in village government. Serving as mayor is the most fulfilling and meaningful work I've ever experienced. Local government does important work that impacts the daily lives of our community and sets the stage for generations to come. I am excited for great things to happen in 2020. I've spoken with each trustee. We are all on the same page. I predict that 2020 will be a very productive year for village government. We have all that terrific staff in place that I referenced earlier, and we have 5 members of this board who are excited to accomplish good things for Ossining. Trustee Levin, thank you for being the hardest working trustee I have ever served with. Our weekly phone call has become a good way to strengthen our ability to work as a team. In a few moments, I will reappoint Rika. Did I tell you I was doing this? I will reappoint Rika as deputy mayor, extending our record as the only all-female mayor/deputy mayor team in Ossining history. Thank you. Trustee Quesada, you are also beginning your 8th year in elected office. Our professional relationship definitely wins the prize for greatest evolution. The chuckle is from people who have been around for at least as long as Manny and I. It wasn't until you left the board for a year in 2018 that I realized how much I had come to appreciate working with you. Since your return 2 years ago, I have been grateful again and again for your thoughtfulness, dedication, and good humor. Trustee Fritchie, that sounds nice. I don't know if I haven't said that too much. I met you when you first ran for trustee in 2011. You ran on another ticket. The next year, you made a somewhat half-hearted effort to get the Democratic endorsement. Thankfully, you didn't try harder, and I got the nod that year. And since then, you have been a regular presence in village meetings and behind the scenes, most recently serving on the ZBA. It is fitting that my last year on the board first. Trustee Lopez, how fortunate that the New York Times chose you and your lovely wife as the subject of a story highlighting new people moving to Ossining from the city. Our connection began when I reached out to you via a Facebook message, and you responded by joining me in one of my weekly walks in 2017. You have jumped into your new community with 2 feet, and I am looking forward to seeing all that you will contribute. Most importantly, all 5 of us may not always agree, but we recognize that our top priority as elected officials is to serve the interests of the people of Ossining. None of us gets paid a living wage to do this work. We get a stipend. We do this job because we want to serve our community. I have experienced my whole tenure as mayor. Social media is like any other powerful force. With great power comes great responsibility. Not sure if I'm paraphrasing a Kennedy or a Marvel superhero, but that is absolutely true. Spider-Man, thank you, Martha. Social media can be a tremendous tool for democracy when it is used to share valuable implies constructive action. Unfortunately, social media can also foster anger and rampant misinformation, enabled by the phenomenon known as keyboard courage. Combine this with a national atmosphere of unbridled disrespect for government, and we have a culture that undermines the well-being of the whole community. Even in a community with residents as generous and engaged as Ossining, it is difficult to find candidates who are willing to subject themselves to the frequent nastiness on Facebook and angry in-person statements that malign and disparage the personal character of village officials. I have two asks for you, the people of Ossining. 1, get involved in the community offline. And 2, treat village officials as you wish to be treated. If you are not already serving on a village board or committee, I encourage you to visit our website and click the Get Involved icon. We are announcing and voting on several appointments later tonight, but there are still some openings where we need volunteers, particularly on the Ossining Arts Project and on the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council, where we are looking for at least one tenant representative and one person who is neither a tenant nor landlord. I can say confidently, every member of this board, as well as village staff, wants to do our best to serve you. So when you express your concerns, I ask that you begin with an assumption of the best intention. In an era where rampant keyboard confidence, keyboard courage, can rouse online ire, a legitimate concern can be overshadowed by other agendas. I realize I am asking the people of Ossining to conduct themselves with greater civility and kindness that has become the norm in much of our culture. And I do it knowing that we are up to the task. Adopting a mindset that assumes the best intention of the person you are addressing, even if they appear to be your adversary, will result in a community where more people will be willing and eager to sit in these seats. Right. So, moving on to slightly less lofty, but also extremely important topics. One issue that we have heard a lot about on social media, everywhere I go, friends, family, and probably you at home, that is water. There is nothing more essential to life. And we have had, add it up here, we have had a lot of conversations about it, and we've done a lot of research. The village put out a formal statement, which I will read, and then I will certainly invite Manager DeTore to speak in more detail when she makes her remarks later on. So, in response to taste and odor issues, Ossining is now operating the Indian Brook Reservoir at 100% for our water supply. We will use this time period to design and implement a powder-activated carbon system to address this and similar issues in the future. In the interim, we will continue to use 100% Indian Brook as our water source while we continuously monitor reservoir levels. System demand is low this time of year, so it will take several days for the Croton Reservoir water already in the system to flush itself out. During this time, you may continue to detect taste and odor issues. However, within the next week or two, we anticipate significant improvements. Recently, we have been experiencing taste and odor issues with our water, described by residents as a musty taste and smell. It was determined by New York City that taste and odor issues stemmed from a specific organic compound, I should practice this, 2-methylisperanyl, MIB, we'll go with that, MIB, produced by algae detected in the Croton Reservoir, where Ossining draws most of our water from. While Ossining and Westchester County continuously monitor water quality, we have been conducting additional tests with the guidance of Kirk Nowak, PhD, the leading expert in the country on taste and odor issues associated with potable water, to gain additional information and develop more effective strategies to address this issue. Today, we received results from Engineering Performance Solutions, an outside laboratory that specializes in testing algae that can cause taste and odor issues. It was found that the Croton water source had a result of 105 Ng/L. Thank you, sir. Nanograms per liter of MIB, and Indian Brook had a result of less than 1. We immediately called the Westchester County Department of Health to get authorization to move to 100% Indian Brook as our source. This condition has never been experienced during the 33 years of the water treatment plant operation. Further, it is not only an Ossining issue. The taste and odor has affected all municipalities that draw from the Croton Reservoir. Despite the taste and odor, the water has been and remains safe to drink. We appreciate your patience and apologize for any inconvenience. As we embark on the construction of a new water treatment facility, we will be working closely with experts to incorporate technologies needed to prevent this and similar issues in the future. Please contact the Indian Brook Water Filtration Plant with any questions at 914-941-0128. And thank you to Manager Karen and Water Superintendent Andrew Teese and Village Engineer Paul Fraioli for working very diligently to pursue further testing and get more and more answers. I know that's been very challenging, and thank you there was a lot that I learned just today, hours ago. So thank you for that. All right. I have an event announcement or two, but I think I'll hold off until organization announcements. Would trustees like to comment?
Go from left to right.
Have any announcements you can do?
I'm in.
All right.
Yeah. So first, I want to thank folks that come out to these meetings. Maybe you're related to somebody here. Maybe you're just interested. Can I turn this on? Am I good?
You're on. You're on.
I don't know.
No, now he's on.
Am I good? Great. So first, I'm super, super, super grateful for all of the folks that work for the village that make the work and life here possible. Jamie is one that has just been a constant person. I'm so, so grateful for you, Jamie. One thing that I want to highlight is there are a lot of events that happen here in the village that come and go, and folks may go, may not, may appreciate them, may not, but I just really want to underscore two. One was Breakfast with Santa. My parents came to visit from Florida, and they were looking for something to do, and we brought my 10-month-old daughter and my wife and my parents, and we go to the rec center, and there's Breakfast with Santa, and there's families, and there's food. It's amazing, and that doesn't just happen. There's people that are really working hard to make that happen. I appreciate that, and I appreciate living in a community that does that type of stuff. And second is the inauguration that recently happened. Again, I had friends, family, all kinds of people that were here to support me and all the new folks that were recently elected, and they were just blown away by all the effort that went into the whole event, from music to food and drinks. It was amazing. So thank you to all of the hardworking folks, particularly those that work for the village that make this possible. I am grateful, and I know that I represent many, many folks who are grateful. Thank you. Some quick events. Saturday. My father-in-law, Tim, and I have been training for years for our moment to shine. There's a cornhole tournament happening at Hollowhose. So it's this Saturday. It's at 1 o'clock. We expect to win. We'll see what happens. Up to 32 teams. It will be competitive. Corporation Council, will you be there? as a judge. All right, we'll need those folks. That is a fundraiser, so really looking forward to that. I always look at the weekly web blast. It's a great place where there's a ton of events happening. Another shout out to Jamie. There's a lot of events happening. So to pick out from the most recent one, the first, this is gonna be the second Thursday of every month. Is NAACP meetings at Star Bethlehem. Those are great meetings to go to because they are really trying to build membership here in Ossining once again. So that's the second Thursday of every month, NAACP. And the Ossining Food Pantry. So the Ossining Food Pantry, if you're looking for food, they give away non-perishable food on Thursday evenings and Friday mornings. Thursday evenings 6:30 to 8, and Friday mornings 10 a.m. to noon at Trinity Church in downtown Ossining. That's 7 South Highland Avenue. If you're looking for more information, it's all in the web blast. If you are fortunate enough to be able to donate to the Ossining Food Pantry, to be able to help, please do that as well. It's a great, great cause. That's it for me tonight.
Good evening. I thought it was bad enough to go after Victoria, but now I've got to like follow up the, the competitive father-in-law son team. I'm really in bad shape. So I'm really looking forward to 2020. I'm not going to make long speeches. Steve, congratulations, Mr. Dewey. I understand you've been appointed, not by the village, but by the town, so welcome. Bob DeRayo, great to see you here again. When Victoria was speaking, I remembered that my first day as a trustee, I came in when Omar Herrera had left his position to go to something else, and it was my first day, and that replacement was, I think, your last day in the seat here, and I was sitting over there. So for me, it's like a full circle. And welcome, and I hope you're here on many more Wednesdays. Mr. Sylvester, always nice to see you here, and I hope that more people do attend, as Omar had just said. I do wish everybody a great 2020. I think a leap year is always a good year. An extra day is a great thing in life to accomplish even more. We're not going to have a legislative session before Martin Luther King Day. There are numerous events going on, especially days of doing good and doing well for people regarding social justice. The list is really long, and in Ossining, always a long list. You mentioned some of them. Star Bethlehem has something on 7:30, I think, on that weekend in the evening. I don't want to go through a list. They're all in the blast. There are also county-wide events, and I think that it behooves everybody to look them. I have some updates because I actually reflect on the previous year to look at some things that I'm going to be speaking to, but I'm going to hold off on some updates that regard the village. I think towards the end, as we go through what is probably going to be sort of a long session regarding some outstanding issues from 2019 that I just want to review. So I'm just going to hold off on that either as we go through or into the new business. And thank you for the kind words. That was very nice of you. So I do want to thank the staff. During the holidays, dealing with the water, dealing with all sorts of issues that have come up. And I am, on one thing, super excited from 2019, and that is the community center was not on your top 3 list, Mayor, but for me, going into 2020, I know we're going to hear a lot more about the community center as we go through the weeks and months ahead. So thank you.
Good. Madam Clerk. Okay.
2020 mayor's appointments.
Okay. It's our reorganizational meeting, so everything's a little bit different. So I wasn't expecting you to say that, even though it's right in front of me. So I have a lot of exciting appointments to make, and some of them are actually going to be surprises for the people sitting next to me, because we talked about some of the big ones, but some others got added to your list. Yay! But I do want to start with a statement about the approach to assigning liaisons to boards and committees, and then I'll get into the actual appointments. Ossining is very fortunate to have many service organizations and organizations that work with our local businesses, and the list of official liaison appointments changes every year. And this year what we've decided to do is I'm going to be making appointments to specific village related committees, but for the many, many organizations that we have in our community that we are all so very interested in, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or MBK or any of these really great IFCA. I mean, I shouldn't even start listing because there's like 400 I'm not going to list. We are going to have a much more proactive approach in communicating. And I talked to Jamie a little bit about this and Lisa a little bit about this, and we're going to figure out what works best for all of us to make sure that we are aware. This weekend, the Eagle Scouts there are Eagle Scouts who are getting their it's not flying up, that's what we called it, and they're becoming Eagle Scouts, the official ceremony for them. But there are always a lot of things that we can and should have on our calendar, whether it's a meeting or a ceremony. We're going to do a more effective job at making sure that we all have the invitation in our calendar somewhere, and so that all the members of the Board of Trustees who are able to attend these, and these are not things where we're making official village business. So if 3 of us show up to somebody else's meeting to say, rah, rah, you guys are great, that's okay. That's not a problem with the quorum. Thank you very much to all of the incredible organizations that serve our community. We are so grateful for your service, and we look forward to attending many of your meetings and events in the coming year. But we'll just be doing it a little bit differently than we have sometimes in the past. So I first have 2 big appointments to particular positions, and the first is to the lady to my right. I am appointing, once again, Rika Levin to serve as our deputy mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And also in the audience tonight, we have Dana White, who I am so grateful. I remember when we went out to lunch after I was elected the last time, and I first asked you to serve as village historian, and you were not expecting it. But you took it on, really done it in your own way. Being a journalist, you treat being the village historian as an opportunity to tell the story of the history of Ossining, and you do it in so many different ways with so many different fantastic slideshows and lots of visual images, and you do it all over the community. At times I have no idea what nursing home you're going to be in, what library, what church. You just have told the story of Ossining in a way that no one ever had before, and I'm so grateful for that, and I ask you to do it one more year. And I know that you're already working on your first presentation of 2020. It will be a new one related to the Broadway Bridge and our double arch. Right? So as soon as we have the date set for the official ribbon cutting of the Broadway Bridge, although everyone continued to enjoy driving over it after a long time of not being able to, we are going to gather around a slideshow again, and Dana is going to tell us some of the history of the Double Arch Bridge. I'm very excited. All right. There's a list of liaison appointments that is in here. It's more of a placeholder. I'm going to diverge from it a little bit on occasion. But since the first thing that it says here is Civilian Police Complaint Review Board, we don't actually have a liaison to that board. Chief, I just forwarded an email to you about this. Okay. Sorry for not sending that to you earlier, so you could have had an opportunity to speak about it, although you and I spoke about some of the substance of it when we met recently. But from time to time, the mayor establishes a subcommittee. Most recently, we had subcommittees to review the village code related to the Landlord Tenant Relations Council and the Board of Ethics. And those subcommittees resulted in a terrific strengthening of responsibilities and effectiveness of both of those committees. And so this year, I have asked Trustee Quesada and Trustee Lopez to serve on a subcommittee to review the village code related to the Civilian Police Review Board. Later on tonight, we're going to be appointing 3 new members. Even before he was sworn into office, Trustee Lopez participated with me in the interviews for candidates for that. I think I'm really excited for the range of life experiences and perspectives of folks that are going to be joining that committee. It's an unusual board. It's a mix of civilians and representatives from the police department. It is also unique because it is the only Civilian Police Complaint Review Board in Westchester County. And that is something that is certainly emblematic of our police department, their commitment to community policing. And I'm really grateful for the good work of that board and looking forward to how we can make it even better. So thank you to trustees Quesada and Lopez for stepping up to that position. Hey, it's Quesada and Lopez time because you two are also going to be, I don't know if I actually mentioned, um, uh, the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, also not a permanent standing committee, but it will be in place for at least the next year. And I've asked trustees, Trustee Lopez has been serving on it as a community member since we began last year. He will now serve as a Board of Trustees liaison, along with Quesada, who will be joining the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. And I'm really looking forward to both of your perspectives. Again, you two have the most tenure of the trustees and brand new in the community and on the board. So that's a really nice balance. And I look forward to hearing more about the work that the committee does. It's a really impressive group of engaged people doing important work, preparing to reach out to the community and figure out exactly how we are going to update our comprehensive plan and do some important work. Much more of that to come. I look forward to getting updates from you regularly, and of course, Vittori, who does an excellent job at making sure that that committee is effective and doing good things. Trustee Levin, you and I spoke about this in the Downtown Development Fund Council. You have agreed to continue on as a liaison to that, as well as to the Environmental Advisory Council. I'll say Trustee Levin, one of her priorities ever since she came on is getting all of our boards and committees to be highly functioning, getting new people on, getting people who are going to be active. That is no more, one of the best examples of that is the EAC, which tonight we're going to be appointing, I hope, assuming all goes well, to have a full council again, and it's been a really rejuvenated group of people. Trustee Quesada, would you like to continue your position on the Historic Preservation Commission?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm
On
not,
the
I'm not sure if we
microphone.
actually talked
On
about
the
that.
microphone, yes.
Now, Trustee Fritchie, I've got 3 for you, and I'll give them boom, boom, boom. 2 of them are here, and one of them's not written down, but you and I talked about it as the first one you said you wanted to do. And that is to be liaison to the Ossining Fire Department. You have been a member of the Ossining Fire Department since when?
79.
Okay, a few years. I wouldn't even tell you how old I was when you joined. So were you like in the venturing crew then? Was there venturing
No.
crew? No.
It was actually a waiting list to get in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so you'll be experiencing the department you've given so much to in a very new way, and
Okay.
I look forward to your role with that. And then also in the realm of first responders, Trustee Fritchie will be representing the village board with the Mid-Hudson Ambulance District, and they meet quarterly. It's a really fascinating structure for providing ambulance service. In fact, Sue Donnelly is a good person to ask about it because she has served on it for how many years?
Since we started it, so it's 10 years.
Okay, so ask Sue. which is not unusual for you, having the 2 of you just came off of serving on the ZBA together. So you can continue your service together now on the Mid-Hudson Ambulance District Committee. And then here's another one that I just added for you, which is the Ossining Arts Project. I have been acting as their liaison for the last year, and I've really enjoyed the experience, but it makes sense for me to make sure that there's somebody else on the board going forward after this year who's engaged. And I know that one of the exciting things that they're looking to do a little differently this year, and they'll be coming to the village board for a work session, is to talk about a vision for an arts corridor, and particularly to bring to us what their idea is, and then for us to figure out if there's changes that we need to make in the code or a policy that we need to set forth to remove any obstacles for there to be more public art. The goal is to have more public art, high visibility places in the community. So that's a really exciting undertaking that I look forward to you being part of. And 3 more. 2 are for Rika. Rec Advisory Board, we're continuing. And then the other one is a little bit unusual because it's the Sing Sing Prison Museum Board. And in their organization, the mayor is the ex officio member. And it's a really impressive group of people. They do a lot of exciting work, and it's something that Rika has expressed interest in. It's actually at a weird time of day, and I don't get to attend as many of the meetings as I'd like, although sometimes our staff does. Tom is often there, and I know Karen has been attending, but you have expressed interest in being there, and it's at a time where you will often be able to attend. So I'm really excited to have a board member being there regularly and somebody who has expressed interest. So thank you so much for taking that on. Don't worry, Lopez, you got one more.
We're not done.
Last but not least, and something you're going to hear a lot about this year, is the census. And I am going to go right in from announcing that I'm asking Trustee Lopez to be our official liaison to the Ossining Counts Committee, which is our local complete count committee for the Census 2020. And I am going to use this as an opportunity to formally announce the community stakeholders who are participating in the Ossining 2020, the Ossining Counts Committee. You should understand that there is a county complete count committee. We have had a visit. In fact, just last night, Commissioner Drummond was at the town board meeting. Late last year, we had Commissioner Drummond come and give a presentation to us at the library that several of us were able to attend. I have attended numerous meetings now about the census, and every time I learn and understand more about it. It seems like it should be so simple, but it is actually very challenging, particularly challenging because we have two populations that are especially hard to reach, and if we don't do a good job reaching them, then we will be undercounted again. And not only is the census in the U.S. Constitution that every year we will have a count of all of the residents in our country. We're not just fulfilling some obligation of the census. The numbers that we get from the census impact so much of our lives that we don't even realize. It's not just, are we accurately and fairly represented at the federal and state level of government? That's the starting point. But then it has to do with funding. The thing that came up in the last year that made it most obvious to me that I hadn't even thought about, because I was aware that grant funding is tied often to census data, like our CDBG grants are tied to census data. Only certain communities with certain populations and certain densities are eligible for some grants. But we get our sales tax revenue as a share of the sales tax that is collected by Westchester County. It has nothing to do with how many businesses we have. If we have a population of 30,000 people and 0 businesses, we get the exact same share of the county sales tax as if we have 1,000 businesses and 30,000 people. The share of sales tax revenue we get from the county is based on our census population, and it doesn't change for 10 years. The revenue we are getting right now from Westchester County for our sales tax revenue is based on the numbers of people that were counted in 2010 that we know was not accurate. We know we were undercounted 10 years ago. So we do not want to have that happen again. But I'm so, so grateful. We got a head start. We have our Ossining Counts Committee in place, and we have met with this list of terrific stakeholders who have a number of exciting ideas for how they are going to reach each of their groups, their contacts. And we are going to be reaching out to you to make sure that you reach out to the folks in your lives, particularly senior citizens. We have been sending them a message that they should be very careful about sharing their information with anybody because they are often subject to scams. And now we're telling them the opposite, that it's very important that they give their information to the census people, but not all of the other people. So that's a tough message for us to manage, but we're going to do it. And the other group of people who are frightened to give their information for good reason are undocumented people, or people with undocumented members of their family, or people who are living in overcrowded housing. And it is critically important that every person who lives in the village of Ossining is counted. It's incredibly important. So I am grateful. Jamie Hoffman, you're going to be like sick of hearing your name tonight, but I have to say it again because she helps organize all of these meetings for us. Has provided this list of stakeholders to me based on all of our outreach so far. This is not the end. If you have an organization or a club or a committee or whatever that you want to work with us and you want to reach out to your neighbors or your fellow committee members someplace, please. That's what this is about. Thank you to IFCA, Family Ties of Westchester, Neighbors Link, the Office of the County Executive, George Latimer, Office of Legislator, Catherine Borgia, the County Board of Legislators, Office of Senator David Carlucci, the Open Door, the Ossining Food Pantry, the Ossining Public Library, Ossining Union Free School District, Star of Bethlehem Baptist Church, Town of Ossining. Should have said them first because we're actually partnering this with the Town of Ossining. Trinity and St. Paul's Episcopal Churches, U.S. Census Bureau, the Village of Ossining, and Westcott. Those are the organizations that will actually have their logos, I believe, on our website and on the material that we're pushing out. We are at a phase now where we are preparing to put together messaging and communications that all of these groups can tailor to be able to reach their members in an effective way. So I've gone through a whole glass of water with all of my talking so far. Got an opportunity to meet a lot of really important stakeholders in our community, and I know they'll be excited to work with you in achieving this. All right, Madam Clerk. No,
Mayor, there's one more.
there's one more.
Yeah, I think
The landlord
tenant.
tenant relations council.
I don't think you.
Oh, I skipped over that? Oh,
Yes.
you're right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for paying attention. Trustee Quesada, will you continue in your role as the liaison to the Landlord Tenant Relations Council?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right, there we go. Thanks for everybody paying attention.
Great.
Madam Clerk.
Okay, great. Okay, annual resolutions. Board of Trustees meeting schedule regular meetings. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining will hold regular meetings of the Village Board as set forth in the schedule below for the year 2020 at 7:30 p.m. in the Birdsall Vegan Police Court facility. All additional information is online and will be available in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board of Trustees meeting schedule work sessions. Resolved that the work sessions of the Boards of Trustees will be held at the Municipal Building, 16 Croton Avenue, as set forth in the schedule below. And again, this will be available online or hard copy in the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board?
All in favor?
Aye.
Official newspaper, Gazette. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby designates the Gazette as the official newspaper of the Village of Ossining for 2020 and the Journal News as necessary. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mileage allowance. Resolved that whenever it is appropriate to compensate village officials and/or village employees for mileage, they shall be reimbursed at a rate of 57.5 cents per mile and to be paid upon a claim voucher after audit, and approval in accordance with IRS standards. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
Retaining bond counsel. Resolved upon the recommendation of the village treasurer, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Ordick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, LLP, 666 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 101-03-001, to serve as bond counsel, effective in accordance with the letter of correspondence dated December 18th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
Retaining financial advisor. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the village treasurer, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby retains the firm of Capital Markets Advisors, LLC, 11 Grace Lane, Suite 308, Great Neck, New York, to provide financial advisory services as it pertains to the issuance of village indebtedness effective immediately in accordance to a proposal received on December 24th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in
Comments
favor?
on the board? Madam
I
Clerk.
do apologize.
It's okay. I'm not taking it as like anything other than this first time. Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
The appointment special the appointment of Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahan. Resolved that the Village of Austining Board of Trustees hereby reappoints Stuart E. Kahan to the position of Corporation Counsel for a 3-year term beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board?
Yeah, I do. I wanted, first of all, congratulations when we vote, Stuart.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure working with you. I think we've seen a lot of great work come out of your office. When I started as a trustee, we always talked about a corporation counsel. We now really are talking about the legal department because the corporation counsel has many roles. It's a long night, so I'm not going to go through the entire litany of all the responsibilities, but it's more than just writing these legislative pieces. It's working with the land use boards and managing village like ours, which has been growing at such a fast pace, but development's growing, population's growing, businesses are happening. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I do appreciate it. I also appreciate, Stuart, that you've been involved in movement of new village manager, and I understand have been very helpful in that transition. So I do thank you for your service. I know you're a member of the community and your family, and it is, for me personally, a pleasure to work with you.
You're here.
Anyone else?
Yes, Stuart, I'm looking forward to continuing our relationship. We worked together with the zoning board and learned a lot, and I'm looking to learn a lot more and looking forward to working with you with the board.
Thank you, Trustee Fritsch.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Appointment, Special Counsel for Litigation Matters. Resolved that upon recommendation of Corporation Counsel, the Village of Austining Board of Trustees hereby retains the firm of Hodges, Walsh, and Burke, LLP, 55 Church Street, Suite 211, White Plains, New York, 10601, as special counsel for litigation matters in accordance with the correspondence dated December 12, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Appointment for Special Counsel for Labor Matters. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Corporation Counsel, the Village of Austining Board of Trustees hereby retains the firm of Litter Mendelson PC, 900 3rd Avenue, New York, New York, 10022, to serve as special counsel on labor matters in accordance to an engagement agreement dated December 17, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board? Bob Dryo happens to be here today, and this is one of his regular annual jokes because it's Littler Mendelson.
Yep.
He always asked when are we hiring bigger Mendelson? Or something along those lines. He did a good job. Anyway, I hate to butcher your joke, but I do appreciate it and recall it fondly. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Appointment of Village Clerk Suzanne Donnelly. Resolved that the Village of Austining Board of Trustees hereby appoints Suzanne Donnelly as the village clerk for a term of office beginning January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Comments on the board?
Just for me too, but also just so the public knows, for those of you that are following, it's sometimes a little confusing when I started, but actually Sue has been elected to a position, and now we are appointing as a village, but just want to make sure that people have some sort of an understanding, because it seems always a little odd, at least it seemed to me. So it's just as an explanation.
I just want to say welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you on board. I know that you have already jumped in with your sleeves rolled up, and I'm looking forward to a lot of the updates that you have planned for helping us with doing more online and streamlining a lot of the process that goes through the clerk's office. And I know that actually, though you are elected to be the town clerk, you actually interface more on village business and with village residents, just because there are so many of us. So thank you very much, and I think it's going to be a good year in your office as well.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Clerk appointment, Deputy Village Clerk. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby, Village of Austining hereby appoints Martha
Marta Cecilia Kitisaka.
I'm also very smart. As Deputy Village Clerk for the term of office beginning January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board?
Congratulations and welcome, Martha. It's been a pleasure in the times that we have worked with you, and I'm hoping that 2020 brings you joy.
Yes, thank you, Martha. I'm really, really pleased that you have moved from the third floor to the clerk's office, and you did so at a perfect time to be able to provide some continuity from the transition from Marianne, who has served as our clerk for so many years, to Sue, who is serving in this role for the first time. That's a bonus to your terrific service, so thank you. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I just want to point out that I think that Martha is an exceptional young lady and has been a help, and we're about our 5th or 6th day into it, and it's been a great experience so far.
Excellent.
Finance. Okay. Adoption of the investment policy. Whereas pursuant with the General Municipal Code, Section 39, local governments of the state of New York, including villages, are required to adopt a comprehensive written investment policy, and whereas local governments are required to review their investment policies on an annual basis, and whereas the Village of Ossining has reviewed its policies since adoption in 1993, now hereby be it resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby approve and adopt the following investment policy for the Village of Ossining, subject to the approval of Corporation Council. And we just want to point out that all additional information will be online and or in available in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Just so we get to skip to page what next?
We get to skip to 1, 2,
Oh,
M.
M. Okay, so we're going to turn the page twice. Okay.
Yes.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Finance, debt management policy. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby adopts the debt management policy as follows. And again, it will be available online or in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Comments on, hold on. Comments on the board? Rika just got to the page, and this
I
is
just
something
got
we've
it,
discussed
thank you.
before. So
We're on M, right?
we're on M.
Okay.
You want to comment?
No.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Did everyone say aye? Okay. N, finance adoption of procurement policy. Whereas Section 104B of the General Municipal Law requires a governing body of every municipality to adopt a procurement policy for the goods and services that are not required by law to be publicly bid, and whereas comments are to be solicited from all officers of the Village of Ossining involved in the procurement policy, and therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining does hereby adopt the following procurement policy, which is intended to apply to all goods and services that are not required by law to be publicly bid. Again, the whole document will be online or available in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board?
I do.
Yeah.
Tom or Stuart, in this, 'cause I didn't read the whole thing, have there been any changes since the last time we passed this? As far as procurement policy,
Not to the procurement
referencing
pol-
N,
Not to the procurement.
not to this one.
policies.
Okay then, thank you.
Oh, excuse me. We added one additional vendor, HGAC, which is Houston Galveston Area Council with regard, but otherwise the rest
Okay,
of
we've
the
talked
rest-
actually about this particular, okay,
This is fine.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tom.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't want to go too far, and O. We have to go to O. Okay. Okay. O, reimbursement of village employee, public officer, elected officers' business expense policy. Whereas from time to time, village employees, public officers, and elected officials incur certain expenses in connection with the performance of their duty, attending training seminars and/or conferences, and whereas the Village of Ossining has established guidelines in which village employees, public officers, and elected officials may be appropriately reimbursed for expenses, Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining does hereby adopt the reimbursement of village employee, public officer, and elected officials' business expense policy as follows. And again, it will be online or in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
Comments
moved.
on the board?
Oh,
Oh,
Not-
Oh, sorry. Oh,
Do you
motion
want
first,
to
sorry.
do motion first?
Yeah, motion and then.
Okay.
So we have to, so move.
second.
Okay, comments on the board.
So I'd like to bring it up to my colleagues that on this particular piece, there have been numerous changes It was sent to us. I had wanted some changes made to this based on a couple of occurrences from 2019. I don't need to discuss those occurrences because frankly, I'd like to table this and not vote on this tonight. I'm not happy with the way it was put together, and I don't think it reflects some of the things that I would like to discuss further. And since we have so many things to pass tonight, I don't see any harm, and I hope that you all agree with me to just table this particular piece and get back to it at a later date, if that's okay.
I will second that.
Do we have to, what do we?
You have
do?
to
We
rescind.
start
so
with
do
the
I have
motion?
a motion to I have a motion to table this particular resolution? We
So
have a
moved.
second?
So my only question would be from a functional perspective. We're gonna have to, we'll bring this to a work session and we'll discuss it and whether we modify it from this proposed version or not, or however we modify it. Should we just assume that the existing policy continues to stand if there are expenses that need to be
Policy that is
reimbursed?
currently in place
Okay.
will continue until it is amended or revised, following discussions with the board.
Great, and then I'm fine with tabling it. Any other comments on the tabling?
No.
Madam
So we
Clerk?
have a motion and a second for tabling. Do, all those in favor?
Aye.
Village of Ossining financial goals and policies. Resolved that the Board of Trustees does hereby approve and adopt the following financial goals and policies for the Village of Ossining. Again, the whole, it will be available online or in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye. Big one.
Find the next,
Debt management,
Okay.
capital assets. budget.
Personnel Management Benefit Plan.
Hold on. Okay, here we are. Wow, it's like 3.5 pages. All right.
Whereas the Village of Ossining has heretofore historically provided and does currently provide certain employment benefits to elected official managers and appointed personnel, and whereas the village desires to ratify and reaffirm the benefits that have been and will continue to be provided to elected official managers and appointed personnel, now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with past practice, the Village of Ossining shall continue to provide benefits for elected officials, managers, and appointed personnel as follows. And again, it will be available, it's available online now, and it will be available in hard copy at the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So move.
second.
Comments on the board?
Again, I'm just gonna ask the same question.
Stylistically, it is the same. There are some changes in that we have now added the title Assistant Village Manager.
Right?
We have added the title Communications Service Coordinator, which is the correct title for Mr. Cooper, which.
Oh,
which
is that what
there
that
now.
is? Okay.
And we have in there Director of Planning, not Director of Planning and Development, since it's Director of Planning would be the position. But the substantive benefits that are there that appear are the same as been in past years.
Okay. So the only changes is to the particular
of the
titles.
titles.
Okay,
That is correct.
that's fine. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye. No. We have reached the end of the work.
So do I have a motion to, believe it or not, do I have a motion to adjourn from the organizational meeting?
So move.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mayoral committee appointments. The first one being the Ossining Arts.
No, let me just
Oh,
do it. Let me just do
okay.
it because it's not. These are placeholders.
Oh.
So, let me find my full list. It's not like I didn't have time to know this was coming, but I got excited about so many other things.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Okay, so here we are. the way that appointments are done for all of our boards, committees, councils, and commissions is a little bit different. It's committee specific. Some of them are manager appointments, and I believe, Karen, you're going to have some that you're going to announce during your announcements today. Some of them are mayoral appointments. The village charter, we're a charter village, prescribes that all appointments to committees would be by mayor, but we have, in certain instances, by code, decided that we want to have certain appointments done by the manager and certain done by the full board of trustees. So the only mayoral appointments that I am making at this time are to the Recreation Advisory Board. And I'm very excited to be welcoming aboard Elizabeth Bourne and Nikisha Reynolds. And they will be beginning as soon as possible. In fact, we've been in touch with both of them already. Trustee Levin, as you know, she's been reappointed as the liaison, and that's one of the committees she has been the liaison to for a few years. I just think they're two really dynamic members that'll bring a lot to that
That'll be
committee.
great.
Great. And so then the next ones are appointments to be made by the Board of Trustees.
But
And
do we need
we need to vote on these. And so is there a resolution that we read and then we just add the names in, or?
I would just mention what the names are, and then the board can approve. Just do it that way.
Okay.
So
Well,
that first section, which is only 2 places on the Recreation Advisory Board, do I have a motion to
no,
approve?
that's not a motion.
No, wait,
it's
no
an
must.
automatic mayoral appointment.
Okay,
It's just an announcement.
okay.
But now we have, I will read all of the rest of the appointments that will be in the Board of Trustees votes. So we have for the Civilian Police Complaint Review Board, Cassandra Garrett. But what I'm not looking at is hold on. Jamie gave me the terms of office. Did you send me the terms that? But I'm not looking at the right email. Darn it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, but I don't. Okay. Thank you, sir. Well, that's going to be easier then. Thank you. Okay. So for the Civilian Police Complaint Review Board, serving a 2-year term beginning effective January 1st, 2020 and ending effective December 31st, 2022, we have 3 new members.
Mayor, that would be incorrect. It's got to be 2021 if it's a 2-year term.
That makes sense. Is it a 2-year appointment? Okay. You're right. Thank you for that being that math genius for us, Stuart. So the term correction, the corrected term is January 1st, 2020, term expiring December 31st, 2021. And we have 3 members who will be on that schedule, and that is Cassandra Garrett, Deborah Siriconi, saying on that pronunciation, and Jennifer Cabrera. Moving on, and I'll just do all of the committees that we're going to vote on. And there's 1 spot to fill on the Environmental Advisory Council. And we look forward to welcoming Jennifer Glansberg. And her term, also 2 years, so I'm going to guess that should be 2021 as well. It will be for a full term beginning the 1st of this year, 2020, and ending December 31st of 2021. And then for the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council, also 2-year terms, we have 2 members, Rebecca Beatty, who will be serving as a landlord representative. She'll be serving a full term beginning this January 1st, 2020, and ending on December 31st of 2021. And we will also be welcoming Thomas McCardle, who is neither a landlord nor a tenant, and he will also be serving a full term from January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2021. So, all right, we have to mention the reappointments. Yeah. All right. It's a good thing we're working as a team here. So, so for the, oh shoot, I'm not looking at the right message for this. So let's see how I do on my, Yeah, that'd be great. Read them for us, please, Jamie. Yes, that'd be very helpful. Okay. Oh,
So for landlord-tenant relations, the reappointment of Julie Johnson as a landlord for 2 years term expiring 12/31/21. Reappointment of Althea Goodson, tenant, expiring 12/31/21. And Steve Dewey expiring as a landlord at 12/31/21. And then for the EAC, reappointment of Jessica Hewlett, that is a 2-year appointment expiring 12/31/21. Louis Coitino, expiring 12/31/21. Erica Bosch, expiring 12/31/21. Believe that's
You have Pat Yost for the Recreation Advisory
I'm
Board.
sorry, I just got that one. I don't know.
Is it a 2-year term or 3-year term for
I
Rec
have
Advisory?
the Rec
Oh, but you know what?
Advisory
Actually,
Board is
I should have said that earlier because that's not a vote one. So I'll just
yeah, that's
say
a,
that again.
That's a
that was my bad. I'll say that. I'll
3-year
tack that on
term.
later.
Yeah, that's for Pat Yost, and that's 12/31/22.
Thanks. Okay, it's not actually included.
Sue, I'll
in this
send you
list.
all of this for the minutes.
Yes. Okay. So, having publicly stated the names, terms, and anticipated appointments for the recommended appointments, I think we figured out how to move forward. This qualifies as a resolution appointing all of these candidates to serve in the terms as detailed.
So resolved that the Board of Trustee appoints the following individuals, as so mentioned, to the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council, the Environmental Advisory Council, the Civilian Police Complaint Review Board.
Stop.
Stop.
All right.
No.
Yes.
Oh, and that's
There's
all.
another one listed that we didn't do. so.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Second.
Are there
All
any
in
comment-
favor? Oh, I'm sorry. No, are there any comments on the board? I should say that first before we vote. Yeah, because this is a lot of people, and we work with a lot of them.
It's
so.
a lot of people. I just think people should do the math. You know, a few years ago, it was hard to get people on these boards, and we talked about how do you do better outreach to the community, and with better outreach through different means and venues, people were sort of pessimistic. Well, you know, everybody surprised us. I think we had over 50 resumes 2 to 3 months ago for a whole various, boards. It's a lot of resumes to look through and interview. It's great. I do want to say for, not that I'm biased, but the community center one is one of those that has village and town and outside town, and I highly recommend that we think in 2020 about combining and doing work with the town and village boards. The EAC, the town and village EAC folks are meeting the 9th. I won't be here, I'm out of town, but they're going to meet because they just think it's the right thing to do, and I'm hoping that we have more of that as we move forward. I plan to ask Corporation Council, also with the land use boards, on how we can get people to talk to each other more, and so they're not so siloed. They all live in this community, so they should know each other, they should do things together, and I'm going to talk further about that, all from a really positive, optimistic, I'm very excited kind of mode of really like a good story. So, and I do want to say that the landlord tenant, which Manny taken over, we are one of the few villages, I think we might be the only one, we're one of the few that have one in place. It's very active, and I think that's great, and it speaks volumes for the people who live in this community.
Can we just have a repeat of who did the motion and who was the second?
Oh.
Because it got a little confusing
I
there.
made the motion. Second.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anybody else want to comment on our nominee? Okay, Madam
Okay.
Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Administrative reports. Village Manager Karen DeTore.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to say Happy New Year to everybody. It is indeed an exciting time, and I speak on behalf of the staff of the Village of Ossining. We are excited about 2020. I'd also like to say welcome to our new board members, Trustee Lopez and Trustee Fritchie, as well as our newly elected or newly appointed village clerk, Madam Clerk Sue Donnelly. So welcome. With regard to the water update that the mayor provided earlier this evening, we have indeed been busy at work working on this, and I do want to reassert the fact that the staff has been working day and night on this. And I do want to mention that Stephen Ho, who's the chief operator and lab director at the Indian Brook water treatment plant, has been doing a yeoman's job of answering resident questions and dealing with them and providing very informative and detailed response. Anybody who's spoken to him is much better educated on how our water system works, and also the diligence and the commitment of the staff to maintaining our water quality supply and ensuring that it is high quality. So we did receive permission from the county today to go to 100% of the Indian, use our water from the Indian Brook Reservoir. This is not a permanent solution, as the reservoir doesn't have the capacity to continuously provide our water at 100%. However, it gives us some time to incorporate some technologies now that can deal with an issue that we have never seen before, that is the result of weather changes, and we will likely be seeing more of in the future, which is perhaps a bit of the silver lining here. The technology to deal with these issues doesn't really exist the way it should in this region because the problem didn't exist before. We have an opportunity now to make sure that we are providing state-of-the-art technology, and we're working on, again, with the best experts on this in the country as we build our and commence on the construction of our new water treatment plant. These will be important considerations, as will other things that we will be exploring to ensure that we not only are building increased capacity, but that we're building for insurance of quality consistently and for the long term. So I really want to commend the staff and what they've done, and our sincere apologies to the community. It's frustrating and it's difficult, and we understand. We all, have experienced it, and we are hopeful that within the next few days we'll see a dramatic improvement now that we've changed the water source. So that provides a little bit more detail. If you want more detail, Steve is your guy. So please give him a call and feel free to call. We're on hand to answer questions. And if you call the water department, it's a 24-hour contact and somebody will get back to you. So I also want to state, at the last meeting we talked about a grant that we were going to, the county was looking to use Ossining as for a grant that they were doing with Chase Bank. I had spoken to the county, and this is actually, we have a resolution to approve our participation in that later in this agenda. I had spoken to the county over the last 2 days. This is a complicated grant. Some issues arose, and we determined that given the timing that we have to do this, that we are better served for putting a bit more effort to it and thought, and we'll probably be doing this for the following year. So I just want to caveat that. And as far as appointments, manager appointments, for the Board of Architectural Review and the Planning Board, I want to appoint Seth Roy for a full term, starting on January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2024. And I want to reappoint Catherine Wilson to the Historic Preservation Commission for a full term of January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2024. I also want to note that Marlene Cheatham will be assuming the role of chair for the ZBA. Thank you.
Corporation
Dawn
Council?
has or anything?
Oh.
Are there any alternates too? I thought that there were.
We've made all the appointments previously for these
Okay, so
committees.
that's already
and,
done.
there
Okay.
are 2 alternates that we will be, sourcing for the Historic Preservation Committee. And we have one more alternate now that we've had a change at, for the ZBA, but we have not determined those positions yet.
Corporation Counsel, Stuart Kahan.
Thank you, Village Clerk Donnelly. Has a nice ring to it. Good evening, Mayor Garrity and the Board of Trustees. Welcome to Trustees Fritchie and Lopez. Thank you to the board for your vote to appoint me to my second term as Corporation Counsel. It is very much appreciated. As set out in the village charter, it shall be the duty of the Corporation Counsel or his designee to appear for and prosecute and defend all suits, actions, or legal proceedings of any kind brought by or against the village or against any of the legally elected or appointed officers or agents of the village for acts done while in the discharge of their respective official duties, and to prosecute on complaint of village officers any and all persons or violations of the charter and the laws of the village. It shall also be the duty of the Corporation Counsel to advise in writing any village board or officer whenever so required. The Corporation Counsel serves in addition as the appeal officer for requests under the Freedom of Information Law. With the assistance of Deputy Corporation Counsel Sonia Tanksley, Special Counsel for Litigation Hodges Walsh and Burke, Special Counsel for Land Use Matters McCullough Goldberger Stout, and Special Counsel for Labor Matters Littler Mendelson, along with paralegal Lisa Ferguson and Lisa Nestor in the manager's office. The village is well represented and will continue to advise elected officials, department heads, employees, and all boards and commissions. Coming up, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hold its first meeting of 2020 on Tuesday, January 14th, beginning at 7 p.m. in the John Paul Rodriguez Operations Center. The agenda and documents submitted in support of the applications are available on the village's website. This week, the village's Historic Preservation Commission and Environmental Advisory Council held their first meetings of the year. The meetings of all of the village's land use boards, including the Planning Board and Board of Architecture Review, are open to the public. Agendas and supporting documents are available on the village's website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Good evening. I have 2 items to report on for tonight. First, this is going to be a review of what Sharon Verdejo had given you for the 2019 annual summary of Civilian Police Complaint Review Board activity. 2019, we had 9 complaints, 1 for false arrest, 1 for poor service, 1 motorist claimed to have been followed by police, and 3 for rude or unprofessional conduct. Those numbers won't match up, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. As of now, we have had 0 substantiated complaints, 2 unsubstantiated complaints, 4 unfounded. 3 of them remain pending, and that is because we don't have an active group that can hear those complaints. As soon as that board is reconstituted and fully trained, we'll be able to address those. Second, I want to give you a review of some of our stats from 2019. These are things that we rely on both for establishing priorities and deploying resources. In 2019, our department generated 31,197 blotters, which is a combination of calls for service and proactive measures for which documentation is required. That number's up from 2018, but slightly lower than our 5-year average looking back. Wherever investigations required, our officers opened a case. In 2019, we generated 1,213 cases, down 7.5% from 2018, and a little bit more than 6% lower than the 5-year average. Arrest statistics changed even more dramatically. In 2019, we made 499 arrests, down 17.25% from 2018 and nearly 20% lower than our 5-year average. There's a variety of reasons for that, but one of the contributing factors that appears to be most significant is the district attorney's refusal to prosecute marijuana offenses at this point. In terms of the types of crimes reported, we saw an average increase. We saw a marked increase in violent crime in 2019, but we only have 14 incidents. These stats are across the first 3 quarters. We're waiting on New York State DCJS to provide us with our full year crime stats from their official numbers. Those numbers are still low enough that we analyze those cases on an individual basis, and we're not tracking them as behavioral trends. Still, last year was 14% below the 5-year average. Property crimes are down 32% last year and 25% below the 5-year average. And those classified as others, which includes controlled substance offenses, simple assaults, and certain weapons offenses, are down 41% last year 38% below the 5-year average. So all of that I say is the real story behind the good work that the police officers do here every day. We like to put a good face on things and do a lot of outreach stuff, but the real work that they're doing is in crime reduction. Traffic showed some interesting trends. Last year, our department issued 4,196 moving violations, which is about 4% lower than our 5-year average. But interestingly, we saw a dramatic reduction in traffic accidents. In 2019, we completed 794 accident reports, down more than 100 from last year. That's and 7.82% below the 5-year average. We issued 13,595 parking tickets, which is well below our 5-year average, and a plan is in place now to ensure that parking enforcement is completed thoroughly and efficiently. I just caution people not to put too much emphasis on the statistical reductions. They're a good indication of where our community's at, but we also know that some things that go along with that are each year we have a number of crimes that go unreported for a variety of reasons, whether it's due to the immigrant community or domestic violence survivors who may be reluctant to report things. So to that end, one of our main priorities for 2020 will be to address that issue with outreach to some of those endangered groups. A more thorough version of this will be produced likely in video format probably next month once DCJS provides us with our official numbers for 2019. But for now, I wanted to give that as an update for our annual. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Organizational announcements. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board?
Does anybody else have organizational announcements? Trustee Lopez gave us a bunch of great things to put on your calendar when he spoke earlier. All right, well, I have a couple of things. For one thing, I just want to circle back and clarify. Among the mayoral appointments that I will be providing to the clerk to be itemized in the minutes of the meeting, we are very pleased to be reappointing Pat Yost to serve a full term on the Recreation Advisory Board. It's a 3-year term. And I'll put on my documentary and discussion series hat for a moment. Please join us tomorrow evening, January 9th, tomorrow evening at the Ossining Public Library. The program starts at 6:30 p.m. As always, it is free to the public. In January, we like to select a film that is reflective of the mindset that we often have as with the new year, more of a mindfulness. And this film is called Walk With Me. It is a meditative film about a community of Zen Buddhist monks and nuns who have dedicated their lives to mastering the art of mindfulness, and their world-famous teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. So it is, I understand it's a really moving film. I'm going to get to see it for the first time with all of you, but I have had an opportunity to meet and speak with all of our panelists. It's a terrific group of panelists, so please come for the film and stay for the discussion afterwards. We are welcoming Tengku Ruff, who is herself a Buddhist priest, and she's the president of the Soto Zen Buddhist Association. We're also welcoming Lizette Moran Vale, who is a trauma-informed training specialist with an organization called Rising Ground. She's also an Ossining resident and parent of a terrific young lady. And we are going to be welcoming Benjamin Felcher-Levitt, who many of us in this room know. He is going to be there largely in his capacity as a Qigong teacher. He is also an attorney. So welcome to anybody who's able to join us, 6:30 tomorrow, Thursday, January 9th, for the Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series screening of Walk With Me. Anybody else think of anything before we move on?
Just to go back on what Trustee Lopez said, that this Saturday is the second annual cornhole tournament, which is a fundraiser because the Ossining Fire Department, being that I'm the liaison now, is hosting the Westchester County Volunteer Firemen's Association convention in September. And I believe they're looking to get anywhere from 50 to 60 departments in the parade. It should be a good show. And I believe the reigning champion will be at that cornhole tournament on Saturday.
Was that you?
Yes.
Oh,
wow.
Come on.
Wow.
What is the firehouse that it's at?
It's at Hallow's, 1 o'clock.
Cornhole?
Cornhole.
Okay, somebody give a very brief explanation of what is cornhole. It's
It's
beanbag toss into
It's
a
a
hole.
beanbag toss into a board. They have a board that has a hole. That's the cornhole. I don't know how it originated, but and there's
Probably
points.
corn, probably corn.
Probably use corn, and it's a lot of fun. I think there's 32 teams involved, and it's a good afternoon.
Going down, Fritchie.
Okay,
Wow.
hope you can bag it up.
Is there anyone else?
Madam Clerk.
Village Board resolutions? Is there anyone here to speak on the Village Board resolutions? Not seeing anyone? Approval of minutes, December 18th, 2019 regular meeting. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the December 18th, 2019 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Hold on, I just want to clarify.
Oh,
Comments
sorry.
on the board. My comment would just be
I have to
only
abstain.
3 of us are eligible to vote on this.
Right, I have to abstain from A and I believe B too.
yeah, they
No,
weren't
not
here
the.
December. Neither of them were here for December.
Oh no, the okay.
Well, first let's do this. We had
Okay.
a motion and we had a second. All those in favor?
I
Abstain?
Abstain.
Two abstains and two. Okay,
the
now,
voucher detail report you are eligible to vote on
Okay,
because it's paying the bills now.
and I'll vote on it.
approval of voucher detail dated January 8th, 2020. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated January 8th, 2020 in the amount of $9,066,462.90. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, so that's a really big number.
Oh,
We're
yes.
very fortunate to have our treasurer Tom Warren here with us this evening. Would you be so kind as to provide us with a brief explanation as to why we have a wildly large number for our voucher detail report this week?
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees.
Anytime.
Our first of the year voucher detail report is always very, very large. In addition to the regular bills that are submitted for payment, we also submit what we refer to as blanket purchase orders, and these are actually first the vouchers totals of $1.96 million, which does include a couple of large capital project expenditures, including a late addition purchase of the new apparatus for Steamer Fire Company that's arriving this week, $672,167. But back to the blanket purchase orders, because the village is self-insured, we're paying certain types of bills for health insurance as well as worker compensation claims all throughout the year. We also have some policies for excess insurance coverage, which is due monthly. And instead of submitting those each month to the board, we pay them as they are submitted to us and become due, and we draw against these blanket purchase orders. So we only spend up to the amount of the blanket purchase orders, which is $7.1 million. And sometimes near the end of the year, if we have large number of claims, they might start getting appear or submitted on the regular voucher detail report because we've fully expended the blanket purchase order, and then we go back to the board for additional approval on a case-by-case basis. That's usually late in the year.
Thank you very much, Tom. This is, we approve the voucher detail report every couple of weeks, and we're provided in advance with an electronic copy of it for us all to take a look at. It's on the list of the many things that we vote on that people at home, their eyes may glaze over if they thought they were watching the board meeting, and it seems like sort of perfunctory things that we're approving. But this in particular is how we are taking responsibility for every penny that is being spent by out of the village general fund, usually the general fund. And it is also, thank you for your explanation, an opportunity for those of us. We operate at the 50,000 feet level, looking at big picture goals for the village. It's not our job to know what's going on in the day-to-day. So when we are forced to make a decision like this, it's an opportunity for us to better understand exactly what's going on behind the scene. Thank you. Madam Clerk. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. So one of the things that we kind of go back, press back. One of the things that we used to do is on use Bob, I, and myself. But Cadman as well. We used to review vouchers. Last year, I started doing that, and I had bothered Tom in several occasions, questioning some of the items that signing off, and we actually have a stamp now, or have a stamp instead of signing voucher. I did had asked Tom this year to provide with the vouchers again. I'll be stopping by the office twice a month, review the vouchers, and keep calling Tom Odell in regards to any questions as to why we are approving vouchers. Any other new member or any member that would like to stop by, I'll be on the days, either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at the office, usually for about 2 hours, depending how many. But thank you, Tom. Really great work office does.
Nope, don't sit down yet. So, I don't usually do this, but I have to tell you, I read this email today from you. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I just want to read this part. It's to the board. It's not confidential. From Tom. In late December, Chief DeCruz advised me the delivery of the new E98 fire apparatus for Steamer Fire Company was fast approaching. Unfortunately, we did not receive the sales invoice in time to allow for its inclusion on tomorrow night's voucher detail report. We have now received the invoice, copy attached, and the manufacturer's deal would like to deliver the apparatus by this Friday, 1/10/2020. And this is the one I want to point out, and I think the public should be aware of this. Actual delivery is always a big event, not just in terms of the excitement for delivery of the new fire apparatus. I always attend the delivery to make certain that the chief accepts delivery, that the apparatus meets the bid specs, and that all required warranties is built, drawings are provided to the village. And of course, the manufacturer dealer wants to be paid, but not until the chief and I are agreeable to release the check. So I have to tell you that I don't think of your role that way. I've been doing this job for, I don't know, 4 years and 3 months or something. I didn't know that you did that. So I appreciate the email, but I think the public should actually know. So we've had people who want the public to know all stuff that goes on and be transparent. It was, in my mind, for the past couple of years, unfortunate that some of the really great stuff that should be transparent wasn't. This is great stuff. I work all day very hard in a full-time job, and I wish people did what you're doing. To be in the finance department and actually go down, sure that everything that says that was going to be delivered is delivered, and to work with the chief hand in glove to get something done on behalf of the public quietly. I mean, I've been doing this job for 4 years. I didn't know that you did that. I appreciate the camaraderie. I appreciate the due diligence. I don't know how many people in your positions in other municipalities. Listen, maybe they all do it, and kudos to them. I don't know them, and I'm not, you know, they're not my constituents, those municipalities. So I thank you for that. And I don't always like to point to one staff member because I know there's a whole team here, right? There are a lot of department heads, and I don't like to just point to one, but I do have to say that many problems in our society would be solved if people like you would do what you're doing, which is to go down and make sure that what people pay for from A through Z is delivered in the way it was supposed to, and only pay when that's what occurs. So I thank you for your time and really for the education, because this was great. So thank you very much. I'm sure you don't like to be embarrassed, but I just have to do it once in a while. So I do, and also the chief, that there's an agreement that the two of you will do together. And I think that's great. That was one thing that I want to say, so thank you. Now, you want to sit down? You can sit down. So as for this thing, which is part of the budget, the clerk's monthly report that were sent down to us. Manny, Thanks for doing the vouchers. Best learning I had when I started, it actually explained everything to us. I am one that doesn't believe that all information should come from one person, that it needs to be looked at, that detail should be looked at. It also teaches us a lot. I highly recommend. If you guys, it took me 3 hours to sign the vouchers. How you do it in 2? I don't know, but I must be slower. I must be slower than you. But anyway, and I know John Codman also looked at them at that time and learned a lot. So I just want to discuss this clerk report. I didn't copy all 24 pages of it. So I don't expect a lot of answers. I do want a couple of things. Number one, I was not aware that they required a village manager's signature, and I did call Karen to find out why her signature is not on this. I don't even know if it's required. But I looked back a couple of years, we haven't had that signature if it's not required. Since this is like a public, it should be either taken off or she should sign it before we get it. Number two, 2020, 1/6/2020 and 1/3/19, they don't, like, the stuff doesn't match. The categories being mentioned don't line up one against the other. So this year we get something that has a total of 37,000, like new glasses, $37,278 was in 19. This year the total was 16,138. So immediately a red flag went up, because you would think that in a municipality from year to year the numbers would be about the same. But then you look at the line items. For me, when we look at stuff, the line items from the fees should be lined up even if the number is 0, so that we can look at the information and glean something from it. There are things that are on one year's and not the other. So all the taxi stuff is in the 13119 detail, but not in the 2020 detail. I don't know if I should take the time at a public legislative session to go through this, or if I should have the village manager look at. I don't know who to go about this, but
Well, let me just explain to you is that the taxi cab licensing is going to be done in the month of January this year.
okay, great,
So if you'd like to come down to the office, we'd gladly explain the differences in, what one year to another year.
good.
But that is a report that is generated out of Crystal Reports and software packages. Their cash balances every day. It goes up to the office. It goes up to the finance office. It's deposited. So there are going to be, in this particular year, with the police department, as a matter of fact, correct, Chief, Saturday, January 18th, we will be meeting here with the taxi cabs companies and the drivers, and then you will see a different month of January, because that money will be in the January month.
So I don't come down to the offices per se. I do everything electronically, so I'll just send an email. I think that'll be the easiest. No, I know you meant that. It's not. So what would be helpful to understand is sort of to line up, and if there are differences, that would be great. I figured there was a reason. This is not like, I know there's a reason, but because all the stuff is public records and people should be able to understand it, if we could just have them line up. And now that I understand the taxi, I totally get it. The tags for the parking was on one year's, but not another. So if we could just get them, it'll be done by March. Doesn't even have to be done by February. I just like to see, I'm very interested in how we spend money and how we account for money. When I did this, Jamie went on the website, because at a meeting over the weekend, I was told that when people go, somebody said to me, they went to look at the fees and they saw the fees we passed in December, and the fees that we passed in December for different things were not updated, and it's now January on the website. So when you look at the fees, they're like $10 off, they're $5, so I don't know if you've had a chance to update them. So the fees, we passed new fees in December as part of the budget process, but they've not been updated according to, so I did go on. I actually did it because of this, so one thing leads to another. If you could just email me when you think stuff will be updated, if you need 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is. Nothing's an emergency, but it would be nice that people have the right fees on the website. Huh? Okay, that'll be great. Since we're doing this piece, I have some questions. So I actually typed it up this time and left it in my office. So the website being updated, I went through that, all the fees. Somebody asked me the marriage license fees. I don't think we changed that. They want to understand, like, if that's is that supposed people pay when they get married? you
No,
know?
they pay to get a marriage license.
Is
They
that
pay
town or
$40.
village?
It's town.
It's town.
Oh, I'm out of that one. So I don't need any more advice. That's then not us. That's okay. That's cool. So that's all I had as far as those fees go. I'm trying to figure out whether it's a part of this deal or something else. Okay. I'm looking at my notes, sorry, while I'm talking, so I'm done. I just wanted some clarification about when things will get.
Maybe we could come to a work session. I think that's a more appropriate time to
Yeah.
talk to you about the different fees and what happens month to month, and we'd love to do that for the whole board. So
Yeah, no, that'll be really educational, I think. That'll be super.
okay, so
That's it.
we take a vote on the voucher.
I'm sorry.
We still haven't taken a vote on the voucher
I'm
detail
supposed to
report.
understand this
Yeah,
stuff. What can I tell you?
So, Madam Clerk, it seems like it might be part of a larger conversation. You're new
Yeah.
in this position, and
Yeah,
I'd always like
exactly.
to hear,
Yeah.
once you have a few more weeks under your belt, what you're seeing and what you're looking for.
And we're going to be spending time with Jamie and stuff and going over the different reports and the different software. We have just it has been a very hectic couple of week, and we are trying to get as many people into train parking as possible. So it's been, but we will evaluate each. We have already planned to evaluate each piece of software and move forward and to find out where we can get people more knowledgeable about different permits and licenses that they should have to and come and get them.
Great.
So
Madam Clerk.
may we have all those in favor of the voucher detail report?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. C. Authorizing submit.
Aren't we tabling item C?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you were not even
No.
tabling it. We're just eliminating it.
No,
Okay,
we're-
so
yeah.
skipping to D.
So
I'm
C's
looking at
out,
my
right?
newest copy. So, okay. So our next one would be Westchester County
Yeah, we're
Youth
supposed to-
Bureau. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Submission of application to the Westchester County to establish a local youth bureau. Whereas pursuant with the New York State Executive Law, Section 422, any city, town, or village desiring to establish a local youth bureau may apply to the municipality which such city, town, and village is located within for approval of its plan, and no application. Losing my place here. I'm going to do this way. For approval of its plan, and no application for approval for a local youth bureau shall be considered by a municipality that has not yet first approved by the governing body of the city, town, or village making the application. That mean, right?
It's awkward language.
It is awkward.
Yes.
Whereas the local youth bureau is defined as a youth bureau and that engages in activities including but not limited to the operation, administration, and monitoring of youth development programs, therefore a particular village, town, or city, and whereas the village of Ossining Board of Trustees desires to establish a local youth bureau, the approval of which allows Westchester County to distribute the proposal local youth bureau state aid, and therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees approves the establishment of a local youth bureau and authorizes the village manager to submit the application with the supporting documents that is required by Westchester County. Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Okay, we had some back and forth at the end of last year about exactly what this process would be. So thank you, Stuart, for figuring out that this is what we needed to do. It was a little unclear because we are not a city. And the language that Madam Clerk just read for us is awkward, not because Stuart made it awkward, but because the section of the New York executive law is a little difficult to navigate. But this Your mic's not on.
Tom, this board has to submit a resolution of approval to the county to start the process for the local youth bureau.
And then, Karen, what does it look like after that?
What it looks like after that is we'll start looking at how we're going to staff it. We also want to do a bit of community engagement around it because we have a lot of organizations in the community that are dedicated to youth services. So we want to sort of seek some input. And then we will look and be making recommendations for an organizational structure. And we will proceed in going through that process, engaging the board as we go. And once those things are determined, we will look to hire our youth bureau director and establish our youth bureau.
Alrighty. It'll be a big thing for Ossining in 2020. Any other comments?
Oh, good stuff.
Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution approving cabaret license for
Yes.
Tierras Tropicales.
Tierras Tropicales restaurant.
84 Croton Avenue, Ossining, New York, whereas pursuant with chapters 100 and 171 of the Code of the Village of Ossining that authorize representation, representative of the business
Tierras Tropicales.
restaurant, 84, I don't want to mispronounce their name, 84 Croton Avenue, has presented an application to the village clerk, a licensing officer, for a cabaret license for live music, and be it resolved that the, oh, he told me to skip that one. Be it resolved that pursuant with the code, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the cabaret license for
Tierras Tropicales.
Restaurant LLC, 84 Croton Avenue, for 2020
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's correct. Thank you.
as follows. Days and hours, Friday and Saturday from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Type of music, live music, DJ and singer, Saturday only. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Many? Yeah.
All right, thank you. Stuart, I do have a question on this and also probably for our chief. So, in situations like this, when we pass a cabaret license, most of the time usually it's at the beginning of the year. But let's say mid-year, something happens and something's been happening, a constant complaints of any establishment, just talking about in general. Do we have the right to pull the cabaret license if our police department feels that is unsafe situations, or the building department feels that is emergency access or any violations of the building code haven't been resolved for some reason? Is anything like that in our provisions gives us the authority to revoke their license at some point of time at mid-year or the end of the year? Or I know we have the right not to give them a cabaret license if there's a constant, if either by recommendation of a police department or by recommendation of the building department. I know that we have done before, but in the middle of the year, can we do something?
There are provisions in the village code for licensing generally, whereby licenses can be suspended or revoked based upon certain actions that are taken by the license holder.
So Chief, do we have any report on this? Because normally we ask you any issues.
We respond to every request that comes through. So if it's here, then there's been no objection.
I got a sign off from both building department and police
I
department.
should have asked you, I think. Yes, sorry about that. And also, this is very much what we usually, there's no difference in these hours, the 2 a.m. That's usually
2
what we
a.m. is
do.
the ending time. Sometimes they have asked for longer because actually our code does, but we've generally cut it at 2 a.m.
Okay.
Did I miss a discussion as to why it was Saturday only? I think that's
No,
just what they asked for.
That's it.
That's what they asked for.
That was in their application.
Yeah. We
Surprising.
had this conversation.
Singer. I think it's only the singer Saturday only.
Right. That's correct.
Oh.
Friday and Saturday, but the singer is only for Saturday. Good point.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Odd. That's overly specific, but okay. Any further comments? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 approval about awning permit for Ossining Wine and Liquor, and
Estilos Peluquería.
resolved that pursuant with the Village of Ossining Code, Section 229-5, the Village of Ossining trustee approves the application by Lucia Development Corporation on behalf of Ossining Wine and Liquor and
Estilos Peluquería.
for the installation of awnings in accordance to the application dated December 13th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board?
I'm just going to ask again. I thought that a year ago, so we said that the village manager makes a decision. Is this an awning? Is this different?
No,
That
we preserved the village
awning?
boards.
I thought that
And I'm glad you asked it because actually it's along the lines of a conversation that Corporation Council and I had just yesterday. There are a few of these sort of odd things that come to the village board, even though they seem sort of operational and functional. And the awning permit is one of them. And I'm hesitant to take it out of the realm of village board approval, mostly because, well, we meet every week. So it's very rare that we are unable to process an application within a week of getting all of the approvals from staff. So we're not usually an obstacle to things being able to move forward swiftly. And along the same lines of what I was commenting on earlier with the helpful insights from our Treasurer Warren, is that so much of what happens on a day-to-day basis is done by our staff, and we're removed from that as is appropriate for our role. So every time we have an opportunity to get a little more insight into what's happening in the day-to-day, in what is normally a very quick vote for us, but it's a good touch point for us to be aware of what's going on in village government. So I'm inclined to preserve that power for the Board of Trustees, unless people have strong objection otherwise. But I don't see that it's become an obstacle to people being able to move their process and application.
Just a question to Stuart. These awnings, even though they do come in front of us, presumably they do go in front of the zoning board.
Correct.
So I guess my question is, if it's made it this far, then it's already gone through the zoning board. It's not something that would have to be noticed in the resolution.
That's correct. This already was through the zoning board with regard, this was with the signage and that was all done there. And the reason it comes before this board is because the awning is over village property.
Okay.
And as such requires approval.
All good?
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Authorization of the village manager to sign an agreement with Westchester County Employee Assistance Program. Resolved that the village manager of the Village of Ossining is authorized to execute an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County, acting through its Department of Community Mental Health for participation in an employee assistance program during the 5-year term from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2024, subject to review of Corporation Council. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
Mayor, just
Corporation
to let
Council, do
you
you want
know,
to explain?
This is the same agreement that
I was going to
it just expired at the end of 2019. The county provides EAP services, and the rate is the same as it was in the past as well.
Great.
Great, thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Fire Department appointment, Monitor Hose Company number 4. Resolved that upon recommendation of the Fire Chief, Demetris Venteris, Ossining, New York, I apologize if I mispronounced, was elected as an active member of Monitor Hose number 4 for exterior firefighting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Fire Department appointment. Ossining Steamer Company number 1. Resolved that upon recommendation of the Fire Chief Brian James, Ossining, New York was elected as an active member of the Ossining Steamer Company number 1 for interior firefighting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board? Just say that Mr. James is joining the Steamer Fire Company at a really exciting time because they are taking delivery of their truck in just a couple of days. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Continuing business of the board?
Oh, please, no.
You do? I do.
Oh, okay. Yes, we have
I don't
continuing
actually know if
business.
I don't know if it's new. I actually don't know if I have it in the right. I was looking at my notes before. I have a couple of requests because I was very busy doing the holiday season meeting with constituents. So village manager, the Downtown Development Council, Downtown Development Fund Council. We had talked about getting those pamphlets that were supposed to be given out to all the businesses that were produced. The request is, I can't find them in the community center. That's what they were supposed to be there.
We haven't done that.
Okay. So there was a request to get them a list. I think that we had a meeting, so I thank you for your time. We had a couple of hours meeting that went in many directions, but in some ways I think that was a very productive meeting. I thank you for your time. I'd like to have copies of it for the board. I could write you an email. You're looking at Jamie, so Jamie, maybe I'll write
I
you.
have the box at my desk. But
Okay, I'm gonna give.
Drop some off. They might have run out at the community.
I was at the community center yesterday, so they're not there. So
We'll bring more
they
down.
need to-
They may have run out, but
We have tons.
Okay. My point actually is that I'll give you a list. There's a request that it be distributed more widely and that there would be a report back from the village at some point about where they were actually distributed and when. So I don't need to do it in a public session, but I did want my colleagues to know that that was something that the group did and they would like the board to have it. They'd like the town board to have it. They'd like it distributed to the court. The court staff can put it out or not. That's their decision. The police chief should have it. So I'm just going to send it to you. I don't need to use this meeting to go through the whole litany of it. And just ask you to get back to us with what is the appropriate. I was also asked by EAC in last night's meeting to let you know they would like for you and Stuart advice, and I'm just going to use this public meeting, and I'll follow up with an email. It's just you know, letting the public also know because they may have some opinions. They may want to join some of these groups. You know, use the forum. They would like some advice on how the four boards, the land use boards, can have greater communication with one another, because in a meeting last night, which is publicly recorded, so I'm not speaking out of school here, they really do feel that the baton from one committee to another seems to be inconsistent and falls through the cracks. So I will be addressing more on that, but they did ask me to bring this forward and not, you know, in any other way but publicly, that the four committees should be working together a little bit more closely if legally allowable. So Stuart, I'm going to be following up with you on that. I gave him my word that I would say it publicly. I'm saying it publicly, and that's really, I just wanted for the record that a request is being made to look into how the boards can work together. So when people come up in front of the AC, it's very confusing to understand what the other boards did, what they didn't do, what was passed, what wasn't passed. I'm sorry you weren't there. I know, Stuart, you had another meeting. Can't be at two places at once. But we wish that you could have been. We did our best.
There was a special meeting of
Yeah.
the HPC
Yeah,
with regard to
I
the
know.
warden's house.
Yeah, no, I know, and literally I wish we could clone you, but we can't. But the meetings went on, so I want to put that out there because I will be following up with it as I was asked to. So all good stuff, very active committees that just want to do more things for the community. Thank you.
All set?
Is there any new business of the board?
I just have, I guess it would be an ask, just to jump on Rika's coattails there about the boards. You know, when we have our committee reports in the beginning of the month, I'm just wondering, as an ask, that it looks like it's going to be a very exciting year here in the village. And I would like to maybe see that the chairperson from the zoning board, planning board, whatever board reflects, it could just give us a brief report, like Rika just echoed about things that were passed, things that's coming down the pipe. You know, it's
We have to talk about that
okay.
because there may be an issue in terms of the separation of the land use boards from this board on that, but I'll be happy to talk to you about that offline.
All right. I had to throw it out there.
Yeah,
That's
no,
okay.
that's.
Well, I will say, akin to what you're just talking about is when we do our liaison reports, we've had different approaches over the years.
Yeah.
Sometimes we used to always do in work sessions, and our work sessions are getting really long, so we just cut it out. Then we sort of on an inconsistent basis, have each of us given liaison reports sort of at the start of meeting. And in December, when we asked all the chairs to come up and give like the really quick reports, that was the first time we've actually heard from all of the committees in that way. But there have been occasions where it's especially appropriate for one AC, for example, came and spoke with us about a particular particular project that they were working on and wanted our support. So it could be something that we look at with a particular board or council that we want to bring them to work session, but also we have on rare occasions had multi-board meetings with the Board of Trustees and Planning Board and the Zoning Board and a couple of others to talk about not cases that wouldn't be appropriate, but to talk about patterns or concerns that would like seeing a lot of and they'd like to bring to the board's attention. We'd like to share some thoughts on that. So that wouldn't necessarily be a work session format. It would be a little bit of a different meeting, but that might be something that it makes, particularly with the update to the comprehensive.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Back to the liaison reports, that's something that we have done in the past, and actually I had that opportunity to meet with two of the chairpersons and a little bit today on landlord tenant meeting that I attended early today. I think there's exciting things happening in a lot of the I'm really exciting part of both, particularly right now, because there's a lot of engagement that they would like to reach to the rest of the community. And I think that at some point after in the first quarter, we're going to figure it out and actually requesting a work session for these particular events to come in. Chairpersons will present some of the asks that they would like to see, some of the stuff that they would like to work on it. So it's something that, yes, some of the stuff that I had asked in the past, I'm going to kind of piggyback your stuff, Bob, was that a couple of years back, and something that I kind of mentioned that to the board then last year and to our village manager is that we used to have reports from the managers, and they used to come in. I used to come in and give reports. Paul Frioli,
All
our
the
fire
departments,
chiefs,
yeah.
pretty much all the department heads used to come in, and that's something to me that is very important because there's a lot of as we not even know what they're working on it. I know the village manager pretty much gathers all that information. Sometimes it's good to put face and that they actually do great stuff for our community. So I'm gonna ask again. Let's look into that. That would be possible, and then we can go from there. And again, that's my ask for the board and for the village manager.
I agree.
There's no problem with doing that. So I think it's just a matter of looking at the schedule and also the other items that we have and just making sure that we're committing that time.
And it was once a month.
Yeah.
It wasn't like twice a month. It was once a month that we did. Kind of
Right.
very
So we
helpful.
can set up a schedule now that would facilitate that so that we know that we've reserved those. Likely it could be at a legislative session or a work session, depending on the nature of the report. But we can actually look at that now, and that is something that we want to do as well.
That'll be great. Thank you.
And finding the right balance between sitting down and next week we're going to have Paul and Andy are actually going to be at the village board meeting. We're going to talk a lot about the operations. Or we're going to talk about water too while we're there. And they're department heads that come to us with some regularity because they have a lot of big infrastructure projects that we need to weigh in on and ask questions about. So, that's on the one end of the spectrum of really getting in depth. But I do feel like when we were having, 10 different department heads coming up every month, some of the reports were pretty shallow. So finding the balance between how many we have and in what forum and what sort of information we're hoping to glean from that, I'm sure Manager Troy will have some thoughtful ideas for how to approach it.
One of the things that we'd like to do, and it goes back with what you had mentioned about the land use boards, is that in finding that balance, And if you really look at our meetings, we do have people coming regularly. It's usually on a topic that's being discussed at a work session or requires a report at a legislative session. However, I think that we have the opportunity to really look at how all the projects in the village are interrelated and be able to present them in that context so that we can sort of achieve both objectives, is keep the information relevant and interesting and not a report for the sake of a report, but really weave what we're doing, which will also give us an opportunity to draw from a lot of the things that are going on in the land use area, which have to do with development, rezoning, other things that we're doing on the environmental front. So that's something that I would love to be working with the board on. So as we develop the agendas, we sort of keep that in mind, because every time we have one of our department heads here, it's the opportunity to discuss the project at hand, but also expand on the role that they're playing within the organization and educate us in the process.
That sounds great. Thank you. I think we're good on new business.
Okay, visitor recognition. Is there anyone here that was just to speak to the board? Not seeing anyone.
Oh, wait, no, there's someone. There's someone. We know this guy. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you.
Warren?
Actually, Trustee Kazada, the fact that you mentioned the department head reports reminded me that this time of year I would normally be reminding taxpayers that during the month of January we are collecting the first installment of the 2020 village property taxes, which are payable in our office Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30, or online on the village's website, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, automatically by paying with credit card or e-checks.
You might add that the town is collecting school taxes.
And the town is collecting school taxes as well with the same 8:30 to 4:30, but also collecting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the town website. It's like the village is collecting through the village website.
And we can mail in those pretty vouchers that we just got in the mail also.
Yes.
Right.
Pretty vouchers. I
Yeah, they're
never heard them
colorful.
described that way.
Some of them are colorful.
Or anyone else that would like to speak to the board? Not seeing anyone else. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Comments on the board? All in favor?
Aye.
And with that, we are closing our first village board meeting of 2020. Please join us next week at Village Hall for our work session, which is scheduled to begin at 7:30 p.m. at 16 Croton Avenue. This meeting is adjourned.